we have an update on Hector Santiago, who was the first pitcher to be suspended during MLB's crackdown on the foreign substance. He has indeed been suspended to 10 games for finding the foreign substance. It does not say what foreign substance is, which I find pretty interesting, Mario. Usually if they do find something like this, they'll actually tell you what it is. So, um, I do find it interesting how they don't even tell us what kind of foreign substance it was. But Santiago is appealing the suspension, which was handed out by MLB Senior Vice President Michael Hill, and is eligible to play Tuesday against the Blue Jays if suspension is appealed. In fact, but if the suspension stands, the Mariners will not be allowed to fill his roster spot during that ban, which I actually don't like. We talked about those rules, and this was one of the rules that we actually didn't like. Um, but we did talk about this on Monday. I'll link that video in the description down below. So I won't really touch up too much on this. I'll go first before I do. This article was written by Jesse Rogers for ESPN staff writer. So what I find very interesting, again, Mario, like I mentioned, is that it didn't mention the foreign substance that they found, which I find pretty interesting. And a lot of people are saying, like, hey, I've been hearing a lot of theories, like some pitchers are like paying off the umpires so they can get away with this, or like some people are paying off the umpires to try and throw these players under the bus. Now, I don't know how true that is, okay? But that's the reason why I find it interesting is because it may attract people that make those theories, But I'm not here to theorize or assume this and that. I just figured I mentioned that because reasons. But I look at this, Mario, and again, the rule that I don't like is that the Mariners aren't allowed to fill his roster spot. Here's my problem with this, okay? The whole team should not be affected by one person's actions unless if they knew about it, and two, they were involved in it. That's the only time where I feel like they should have that kind of punishment, even worse than that too. But this was him and him alone. If you know what I mean, this was him and him alone. That's just that. So I don't know why the team has to suffer from it because of his actions. You know what I mean? But again, he is appealing the suspension because in the last video we did talk about how he was pretty that he was pretty sure that he had no other foreign substance. He was using the rosin bag because it was a hot and humid day, which is understandable, So we'll see how that goes, and we'll talk. I don't know if Mario wants to talk about whether or not the suspension gets appealed or not. If not, if so, we'll talk about it. If not, then it's whatever. But I don't know what's going to happen from here. We'll just see what happens. But I just don't like how the MLB is not or has that rule where if a pitcher doesn't get suspended, they're not allowed to refill that roster spot. I just think that's really stupid because what are they going to do? What if they need that pitcher? You're just going to throw another one in there? I've talked about it before, when it comes to 4 or 3 pitcher rotations, mostly you see that in the playoffs because the playoffs most of the time it's a best of 7 or a best of 5 series. So you really see it more there. But when it comes to a 162 regular game season, you need those pitchers to rest. You know what I mean? So I just think that's a cruel punishment. I think it's really stupid. So and we talked about it before in the other video as well, that I think they should look over these rules and try and alter them a little bit. But regardless, Hector Santiago was suspended. He will appeal it, and we'll just see what happens with it.
Yeah. First of all, Nate, I completely agree with you on the part about altering the rules. Obviously, and I'll get to that in a second. I do not agree with the suspension. I don't. Because you're not even telling us if there is like a real foreign substance.
I don't either. That's why I find it so tough.
That's what I find a little sketchy right there. Number 2, if you did suspend it because it was rosin on the glove hand, which I understand is not supposed to be, the point is this: if that's what you suspended them on, the rosin is not a foreign substance.
It's legalized by the MLB.
Exactly. So the fact, I understand that it's part of the rules. You can't use rosin on the glove, but it's not a foreign substance, which means part of those rules. I understand the suspension. If they break any of these rules, they get 10-game suspension. But that is just ridiculous. Okay. And not only that, I agree with you, Nate. They should alter the rules for that specific occasion in general. Maybe not suspended for 10 games, but if you want to put a suspension on somebody for using rosin on the glove, if it's not allowed, then make that suspension shorter because it's not as big of a deal as somebody using a foreign substance. So overall, I do hope he wins this appeal because I just don't agree with that suspension. It's not like he used a foreign substance. He used the rosin. And again, like we said, the rosin is not supposed to be used on the glove. There's that. However, if you guys want to keep that rule, then that's why you should alter the rules. So if somebody does use rosin on the glove, they get probably a shorter penalty, you know. But overall, Nate, to give him a full 10-game suspension when there's probably going to be somebody in the future maybe uses something as extreme as like spider tack and they get the same exact suspension for using something worse, that just doesn't suit well with me. It doesn't feel well, like that doesn't feel right in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
right.
overall, they do need to alter these rules a bit, okay? Because now the again, you see the pitchers are not too happy about the whole checking and everything like that. You see the rules itself, they need to alter them a little bit because for him to get a 10-game suspension for, is it 10 games or 10 days? I believe it is
It
10 games.
is.
All right, it's a 10-game
Yeah.
suspension. For him to get a 10-game suspension when other players are using, when there are probably going to be players in the future who get the same amount, who get the equal suspension for using something that's more extreme than the rosin on a glove. I just don't like that, Nate. I think they should alter these rules a little bit. But overall, he says it was the rosin. Rosin is behind the pitcher's mound, so it's not foreign. It's not a foreign substance. So I am surprised to some degree, but I understand what Major League Baseball is trying to do. They're trying to create a level playing field and understand why they decided to do this in the middle of the season. That's basically the quote right there. I just wanted to read that pretty quick. But I mean, in this specific case, I completely agree with him. It's not a foreign substance. It's not. It's the rosin. It's allowed, even though it's not allowed in the glove. That's why I say you should alter the rules. Maybe that should have a smaller penalty, so you still get your point across. Like it shouldn't be used on the glove, but on the same time, it's not as extreme as if somebody were to use a foreign substance. So overall, Nate, I hope that he does win this appeal. So in my opinion, best of luck to him on winning that appeal. But overall, when the actual decision for the appeal comes out, we will make a video on it and we will let you guys know. We'll give an update. But overall, Nate, but obviously they got to alter these rules because I can already see this not being fair for a lot of people.